Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of the Terri Cole Show. And I'm doing something different today because you guys have been sending in a bunch of questions, and I get so many questions on the YouTube channel and on Instagram, and with people just, sending them to support@terricole.com. So I decided that I was going to dedicate one podcast a month or every other month just to answering your questions live, the ones that come in, the ones that I think will be most helpful to everybody listening. So I want to know when I'm done with this episode, you guys let me know what your thoughts are. Is this helpful? Are you interested in hearing me answer people's questions? That's what I want to know. So before we get started, if you happen to be new to my YouTube channel, well, hello. Introduce yourself in the comments and make sure that you subscribe and you hit the bell so you get notified whenever we roll out something new, which is every Tuesday and every Thursday, because I don't want you to miss the thing, because this channel is basically your channel. I also want to highlight and say thank you so much for all of your questions and all of your comments. I read them all and I love to highlight them. So Nikki Nightmare, this is under the video, 5 Steps to Curate More Self-Love in Your Life. Nikki says, Terri, thanks for another great video. I find your calm confidence to be so soothing and something that I aim for within myself. I'm learning that I've been self-abandoning my whole life, and it's been a huge cause of my anxiety and poor self-image. Your book and videos have helped me greatly, as well as a few months of therapy. I'm going into this holiday season with a new inner peace. Excellent. I love to hear it. Nikki, thank you so much for taking the time to write that comment, because this is also helps other people find the channel. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's move it on into today's content. I'm going to start with question number 1 that came in. I'm struggling a lot in my grief process. I recently lost my brother to complications due to a double lung transplant. We were very close and he was my only sibling. He died 9 months ago. 2 months after that, my son was stillborn. I was 8 months pregnant. I'm having a hard time. I lost my son 7 months ago. Even in the most basic things, I'm not always taking care of myself. I'm just noticing this, but it feels impossible. Time is so strange. I feel like I just gave birth. My son should be with me. What are some steps I can take to feel better, to do better? Any guidance or information is greatly appreciated. Thank you for your time. First of all, I want to tell you that I am witnessing you with so much compassion. You're talking about complex grief. One of those losses would be devastating, but the fact that you had 2 back to back makes it that much more challenging. So let's start with, how do we process cumulative grief, I guess we would call it, right? Or manage multiple losses at the same time. First of all, just let yourself feel what you're feeling, right? Don't apologize for how you're feeling to anyone. Just let it out. If that means crying, if that means letting yourself do nothing, whatever the feelings are, try not to move into numbing behaviors, because it can be very, very tempting to do that. But dealing with the grief, it's better to deal with it now rather than later, because the thing is, it won't go away until you face it and allow yourself to feel it, right? It doesn't just go away, as we know with all types of feelings. Also, make sure that you're doing it your way. Don't let other people dictate or tell you, right, how you should be doing it. How you do it is unique to you. You are in a situation, not other people. You have had these losses. These are personal to you. So however you need to grieve it, that is going to be unique to you, especially when it comes to multiple losses, because it's different than a singular loss, even though it's all painful. If you can, it can be really helpful to get into like a daily routine, right? There's something about having a schedule of some kind that can bind anxiety. It's something where you're like, this part of your day, your life, you can control. When we're dealing with losses, especially death of people we love, death of a child, which is just the unimaginable, everything is so out of control that if you can stick to some kind of a schedule and and that at least those moments feel like there's a little bit more control. And I feel like when you have these types of losses, you have to process them one at a time. It's really hard to try to do it at the same time. You want to dedicate your mind, thoughts, heart to journaling and processing, talking about your brother, talking about your son in separate sessions if you are working with a grief therapist. And also checking in with your body, trying to stay present with how you're feeling throughout the day, right? It's so easy to sort of disassociate because it's so painful. But I want you to really be checking in, like, what do you need, right? What does your body need? Try to get up and walk. Try to make sure you're hydrating. Try to take good enough care of yourself. It's not about being perfect. In your question, you're like, how can I be better? I just want you to process what you need to process. The fact that you wrote into me tells me that, like, that is impressive to me. That you actually you got it together enough to write it in and get it right here. You're the first one I'm answering. So the small things have to be wins as well. We're not going to go back to being quote unquote normal probably for a long time because these are devastating losses that you experienced. And I love the idea of getting into therapy with someone who is an expert in grief, especially complex, complicated, or multiple losses type grief, because it can be so overwhelming and feel so isolating when you're going through something like this on your own. I also love the idea of journaling every day about what you're feeling, how you're doing, right? Every day, it'll be specific to how you're processing these losses. But that can be really helpful too. There's something about getting it up and out by physically writing it. And I like the idea of doing it in an actual journal as opposed to doing it online. I mean, you got to do it any way you're going to do it. But there's a visceral, physiological experience from actually writing something that I think could be helpful. And stay in touch with people who are supportive of you that you don't have to take care of. Because I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting the way that I am, but so much of the time when I'm really going through something, there's so few people I want to get in touch with because I always feel like I have to take care of everyone else, But I'm so glad you wrote in. I hope some of these suggestions are helpful. I am holding you in my heart and in my mind with what you're experiencing. I really am. All right, going on to question number 2. Thank you so much for all you do. I'm a newly recovering high-functioning codependent, and I've learned so much from you already. Thank you. My question is, after spending decades helping family members with everything under the sun, how can I let go of resentment for wasting so much of my own precious life, time, and energy on everyone else? I wonder how many of you listening to this can identify with this question. Now I'm taking the 30,000-foot view of it. I feel like I would be more accomplished in a different, more authentic career. It would have taken time to switch into it, but I could have done it. And in a happier space in my own life had I not spent years living everyone else's lives. Thank you for any guidance. Here's the thing. You are so not alone with this realization. And I can tell you from being a psychotherapist for 25 years and treating a lot of high-functioning codependents, which is a lot of what you're describing, and that you guys know that's what my next book is about. Won't be out till 24, but it's, I'm so immersed in high-functioning codependency right now because I've been writing this book for the last 8 months. Yeah, we have to mourn, right? That this is the answer, is that we have to mourn, but I want you to know that you're not alone. That anytime we have these realizations in life about what we've been doing, about time we've wasted, we learn a better way to do something. There is a moment where you go, oh my God, I really wish I knew this 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it is. And so there has to be a part of us where we take the time to mourn the loss of that time, right, for yourself. And then at some point, when we're done mourning, and I just recently, not that long ago, did an episode about mourning and the importance of mourning. And a lot of times we're mourning the way we thought it would be. We're mourning the way we wanted it to be. And then we have these realizations, and that inspires us to mourn time or opportunities that we feel like we've lost because of the dysfunctional nature of how we were behaving at the time. So you're going to take your time and you're going to mourn. And then you're going to make different choices in your life. I hear in this question that there's some resentment for quote unquote helping, and you put it in quotes, so you know other people. A lot of times when you're a high functioning codependent, people haven't even asked us to help them, but we're helping them, We feel compelled. We are compelled. So part of the mourning process is understanding, taking responsibility for the choices that you made, even if you don't understand why you made them. So much of my behavior when I was younger was compulsive. I was driven. I didn't want someone to feel a certain way, and so I was driven to fix what I thought was wrong or help them in a way. It's a lot of it can fall into the category of unhelpful helping, but it's not even about that. It's about the self-abandonment. And I think that for you, it sounds like there was a decent amount of self-abandonment in the process of quote unquote helping your family. And I think you've got to learn to forgive yourself for that self-abandonment. Take responsibility for it, but then we've got to let ourselves off the hook, right? You did the best you could with the consciousness you had at the time. I promise you that every decision I made in my 20s and early 30s, I was doing it out of love, I thought. I truly did. And I'm sure there were some of them that love was there too, but it was so much more complicated than just that. Because when we're talking about high functioning codependency, we're talking about this desire, this compulsion to control other people's outcomes. And that, for me, I'm not saying that's what it is for you because I don't know. But I can tell you, for me, that certainly was what a lot of it is. And I think that part of this process of mourning and also understanding, of a deeper understanding of why you did what you did, you learn to let the chips fall where they may, especially when there's someone else's chips. So I see you, is what I'm saying. And you're also super not alone in this experience. So you're going to mourn the loss, and then you're going to make different choices. Thank you so much for writing in. I appreciate it. All right, number 3. Hello, I'm so thankful for you, your podcast, and your Instagram. I found the book Bound Your Boss, and it is next on my nightstand to read. Through therapy, I found that my mom more than likely suffers from borderline personality disorder, and that I definitely had it as well in my 20s, but was lucky to have DBT therapy and have learned how to cope from there. Now in my 30s, I found that I'm not a huge fan of my parents, and that any interaction with them stresses me out, and I can't take their criticisms or manipulation anymore. They would constantly ask to see me or to go to dinner. Through your podcasts and wisdoms, I had a good conversation and set a boundary by telling them that I don't want to go to dinner and that I've been hurt by what they've done in the past. So we could try phone calls for the time being, to which they have respected. However, I'm finding that I don't even like the phone calls. The anxiety leading up to the phone calls is ridiculous. So long way around, or as I would say, long way around the barn to get to the question, what do you do when you've set a boundary, but it wasn't actually enough? And is it okay to cut these parental figures out of your life completely if you are that uncomfortable around them? Is it okay to give up on repairing that relationship? Thank you so much. I can't wait to listen to all the Q&A podcast episodes. Here's the thing. We are sovereign human beings. If talking to your parents is too stressful, you are not required to do it. Could you talk to them less? Could you talk to them once a month? Could you talk to them once every 6 months? Or do you really just not want to have a relationship with them? Is it something that continues to impact you negatively? You said that the anxiety leading up is so stressful. So have they not changed at all? Are they still trying to manipulate you? Are they still being hypercritical of you? Because if that's the case, you can either have a conversation about stop trying to manipulate me and stop being critical of me, or I will end the relationship, or you can just choose to end the relationship if you think that they don't have the capacity, especially if your mother's borderline personality disorder is untreated, She in particular may not have the capacity to change. But the point is, I mean, listen, look at your Boundary Boss Bill of Rights, right? One of them is you have the right to make mistakes, to course correct, or to change your mind. So I think that there's something really important about giving ourselves the permission to change our minds. Because I feel like for many of us, and certainly for me, if I was in a relationship, or if I said yes to something, or if I whatever, I would felt like I had to do it till the end of time. I never thought it was okay for me to change my mind. I felt like I had to keep my word. And I feel like in life, part of growth is giving ourselves permission to change our mind. And this is a big deal, but you've been doing great. You have been doing amazing by setting boundaries with them already. And it sounds like they're respecting them. So perhaps you can decide, listen, it's your life. I can't tell you because I don't know exactly how it's impacting your internal life. But either have the conversation that says, stop this unhealthy behavior, or go to once every 6 months, or just tell them you don't want a relationship at all. It's up to you. But I'm supporting you in letting you know my opinion is that you have a right to determine who has the privilege of being in your life. That's my 2 cents. Not everyone, even family, has to be in the VIP section of your life, or you have to have contact with it all. All right, you guys, one more I'm going to hit for this episode of Q&A Tuesday. Let me be another testament to the amazing things you're doing and the extent of your reach to help people create a path to a healthier life. And then she goes on to say, she discovered Boundary Boss, the book, after breaking away from a 6-year engagement with an alcoholic. So from the beginning of that relationship, she said to herself, one thing I can't be is with an alcoholic, and I have to have emotional security. And then after being in the relationship for 6 years, she realized she had the exact opposite of that. She was with an alcoholic with no emotional security. So she's saying the book helped her so much look at her own patterns, dive deeper into better understanding herself. After discovering your book and the podcast, I've learned about multiple missing puzzle pieces, which resonated deeply with me, such as porous boundaries, gaslighting, high-functioning codependency, positive projection, chronic trauma, silent agreements, etc. And then I wrote something on silent agreements, which to her, this had to do with her being like, oh my gosh, yes, I have all these silent agreements in my life. And to get to the question, she wants to talk about sibling abuse because she suffered abuse at the hands of an older brother, even though on the outside they look like the, Leave It to Beaver upbringing of like perfect family type of a thing. And she even was in therapy with a therapist who was like brushing off the abuse as sibling rivalry and that she was being overly sensitive, which, that just makes me call bullshit on that therapist, by the way. No, absolutely not. But the other piece came together for her with the podcast was this injury of the silent agreements with her parents, right? Never discussing the abuse. So they chose to stay in the dark over dealing with it. And as long as the person writing in self-abandoned, everything could still look like the Leave It to Beaver, everything is perfect type of thing. So now she's accepting that at 56, for me, my childhood involved fear, trauma, anxiety, and self-abandonment, right along with the sweet experiences, which created a me of unhealthy relationship patterns and a quick trigger to anger. So my whole 2 cents on sibling abuse is that it is every bit as prevalent as other abuse, and it is every bit as important, right? So this is something that you really want to be aware of, that it really does matter, right? It can be, there's different kinds of abuse, just like any abuse, right? It can be sexual, physical, emotional. And to identify sibling violence, right? We need to identify what is the perception, meaning how does each person view and understand the interaction? What is the intent? What is the intent of the sibling behavior? Was the intention to hurt? And the severity, what is the duration and intensity of the behavior? So these are the questions that anyone who is struggling with their own childhood sibling abuse, if you experienced it, it is something that is really important. And I know that the world barely even has a name for it, but I'm telling you it matters. And you matter. So I think I'm putting this on the list of something that I should do an entire episode on sibling abuse, because it is real. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I will give you the answers in the guide. You'll be able to actually see what I said in the answers. So just go to terricole.com/guide and let me know your 2 cents on this. You guys, did you enjoy the Q&A episode of the Terri Cole Show? Is it something you think I should keep doing it? I was going to do it once a month or every other month, depending on how you guys feel about it. So let me know. I would love to know. And thank you guys for writing in. And if you want me to answer your question, send it to support@terricole.com. Just send an email and keep it to like a paragraph or less, please. Thank you for being here with me. I hope you guys have the most amazing week. And as always, take care of you.